All right, that was the President of the International Court of Justice, Ronnie Abraham, bringing to a close this opening day of the proceeding as far as India's appeal to the ICJ regarding Kulbhushan Jadhav's case goes. Pakistan summing up its arguments through Kawar Qureshi, the person appointed by Pakistan for representing the country's side of the events that have taken place. Pakistan, of course, utilizing their right to reply to put forth their case, saying Kawar Qureshi there ending his argument, saying that as honoured as he was to represent Pakistan at the International Court of Justice, that the hearing was entirely unnecessary. Pakistan, of course, proceeding to detract or take away from a number of the comments and observations that India had made earlier in the day with regards to the Kulbhushan Jadhav case. It said Kawar Qureshi there representing the Pakistan bench at the ICJ, saying that India was fielding arguments based on misrepresentation and contradiction, and that there had been a deafening silence and no response rather from India on Pakistan's accusations on Jadhav. Mr. Qureshi, in fact, accusing India of not doing enough to push for clemency as far as Mr. Jadhav's case goes. He went on to say that India's application on Jadhav must be dismissed on 3 counts, saying that there's no agency and that the relief that is sought is unavailable and that the jurisdiction of the court is limited. Joining me live from the newsroom for more on that story is WION's political editor, Karthikeya Sharma. Karthikeya, the politest of terms, really speaking, being used by Pakistan's counsel, but really speaking boils down to the same old thing. They say that the ICJ doesn't have jurisdiction and that India, in fact, hasn't done enough to push for Mr. Jadhav's case. What do you make of these arguments that were put forth by Pakistan's counsel?
There are 3 things. Pakistan is getting into the legality of the issue. Legality is an important aspect of any issue between 2 countries. But the fact of the matter is there are certain standard procedures which were not followed by Pakistan. Why was that person tried in a military court? Why wasn't he tried in a civil court? How come the parents have not got the visa to visit Jadhav? How come the consular access to India was refused 16 times? These are basic issues which have not been addressed. Secondly, the charges which have been built, where is the charge sheet? How have you substantiated it? Tomorrow, I can be tried and I can also be tried on the ground that, I was trying to sabotage the interest of the Indian government and I was, doing certain, I was involved in certain acts. But what is the proof? That you have to go by proof. Confession of a person under custody cannot be treated as a proof. It has to be done in the court. But the court was military nature, of military nature. So where was cross-examination?
Right.
Who was representing the issue? So the issue basically is that Pakistan today in the international community stands exposed. Pakistan has not followed law to T in trying Jadhav. And I've been repeatedly saying this, that India followed rules when it came to Kasab, when it came to Red Fort trial. In fact, it would be so many people are surprised that in the Red Fort trial, they were not sentenced to gallows. They were not given death sentence.
Right.
Death sentence was given in Kasab's case, in Yaqub Ben's case, and even the Supreme Court had to intervene, Aisha, if you remember it.
Right. In fact, Karthikeya, just to further go into the details of what was said today, Dr. Mohammad Faisal, also the agent for Pakistan, is saying that many died last Friday from where Commander Jadhav was captured, using this kind of argument for Pakistan. But tell me something, the reason why the ICJ perhaps chose not to play out Mr. Jadhav's so-called confession was because it actually detracts from India's appeal, which is primarily on the grounds of lack of consular access and a violation of the Vienna Convention. So did you feel that Pakistan was going around this entire thing in a rather roundabout fashion?
I would say that the Pakistan wanted to take great mileage. The fact that they got the confessional statement, and confessional statements are always very controversial because, they can be taken as duress. That is why even under the Indian law, you can make a confession, but the person has the right to say in the court that it was taken under pressure and the court will allow it to be done again. Now, the issue is they wanted to play it for the larger effect for the international media. And I think in great wisdom, International Court of Justice did not allow Pakistan to have a field day where they would have presented the clinical, sanitized, confession which they had elicited from Jadhav under duress. They did not allow it. But secondly, important part, as you were asking me, they have refused to acknowledge the points submitted by Mr. The Council, Harish Salve, the Paraguay versus Nicaragua, Mexico versus United States of America, and if I am not wrong, Germany versus United States of America. All three of them were contradicted, and they said it does not apply to Pakistan. Then tell me which international rule, which domestic rule applies to Pakistan? If India is internationalizing an episode so that a man gets a fair trial and he should not be summarily executed, I think that's a very fair thing to do. And my understanding is, in this case, Pakistan stands isolated, but it's a sovereign territory.
Right.
It can execute its order. But internationally, diplomatically, in terms of image management, it stands isolated.
All right. It remains to be seen how exactly this plays out. On that note, thanks Kartikeya Sharma for joining us with that perspective.